I never thought in a million years that I would hold a snake, but I did. And this is how I faced that fear and how it strengthened my intuition. Facing your fears helps you connect with your intuition. You can apply this to any fear that you have, whether it's holding a snake or making a huge life change. I'll explain. Last year, I was ready for my biggest phobia to not be hanging over my head anymore. It was a phobia that I had my entire life where I could not even look at a picture of a snake without tearing up, and I would feel my body start to shut down and go into freeze mode. As you can see, the people in my life did not think that I would ever do this, but I was ready. And so I had asked my partner, who is not afraid of snakes, if he would help me hold a snake. He said yes, and he actually had a place that we could go to hold one at a snake farm. We made the plan that week to do it. And one thing that I learned about facing your fears and connecting with your intuition is asking for support. Asking for someone to help you face your fears, not only does it make the process more easeful and meaningful, and it shows you that you're not alone in life, and it communicates to your intuition and your guides that you are open to receiving support when you most need it, when facing your fears. We drove an hour and a half, which really solidified it because I was like, we cannot drive an hour and a half for me to back out on this. So I was like, it is happening today. We get there, we're standing in line, I'm shaking, we get our ticket, and of course, in the waiting area, there are a ton of glass tanks where there are a bunch of snakes of all different kinds and different sizes and colors, species. I was feeling freaked out. I remember my body, I was noticing when I was looking at them, my body was shutting down a little bit, and I was reminding myself, it's all in the mind, it's all in the mind. They're behind glass, and I'm literally about to hold one in my hands. So the snake handler comes to escort us, to bring us to where we're going to hold the snake. And I asked my partner if he would be willing to sit down with me first to hold the snake with me so I wasn't alone, because it felt really intimidating when I saw the snake in the container before they pulled it out. So he sat down with me, and then I eventually did it on my own. I remember him picking the snake up out of the container and about to place it on our laps, and I was like, this is it. What's crazy about this is that nothing that I imagined about holding a snake was real or came true. And it was a big lesson because I was so convinced my entire life that if I held a snake, that if I felt the texture of a snake, that it would cause me so much panic that I would have a heart attack and I would die. And I'm not exaggerating. It really was powerful to experience this because I was shown that none of my mind's fantasies came true, that my fear did not match reality, and that it was completely illogical, even though it felt logical because it was in my mind. It was a huge experience to finally face a fear that I've had for so long, that had been living in my mind, that I created this entire world for, and that I was convinced was real, and it wasn't. That was huge because I realized that the mind is so powerful. It's telling us things and creating things that are not real, especially for things that we are most afraid of. It will create the most elaborate story, and it will create this entire world around you to solidify that story. I remember when I got up finally, when we were all done with the experience and I was no longer holding a snake and I had done it, it was this moment of, wow, I feel ready to face other things and fears that I'm being called into and that I've been avoiding. What was cool about it was that a month later, I actually discovered how to connect with my soul guides, and I do not believe in coincidences, so it felt like a divine domino effect. And it was awesome. How this connects you to your intuition and why this is important is because your intuition will not always tell you what you want to hear or what you desire. In fact, most of the time, it's going to scare the shit out of you and it's going to challenge you. It's going to invoke expansion, from you, which in expansions, there is contraction and there is a lot of resistance and fear in expansion because it's not easy. It's not easy to grow. And once you face your fear, it actually helps you learn to trust yourself more and to trust a higher power. So it opens you up to these channels where you're able to show your intuition and your guides that you are able to take yourself from something that's in your mind and through the process and hold yourself through that to see what is on the other side and to actually be met with reality. If you are ready to face your fears, which I imagine you are if you're watching this video, I suggest that you make a list of fears that you have. And for me, I always like to go to the extreme, like the most extreme place of like facing my most intense phobia. So that way, when I face everything else, it feels a little bit easier. But if that's not your style or if you don't feel ready for that, I suggest creating a list because then you can pinpoint what is one thing that I'm ready to face right now, this week? What is something that I can commit myself to in the immediate future? And then you're going to make a plan. You're going to decide which fear it is, make a plan for when it is, and ask for support. When you ask for support, you can ask for support from someone that maybe doesn't have the same fear that you have, and it can be very grounding to have them there as long as they are supportive and empathetic. Or you can ask someone who actually shares the same fear as you, and it can be very empowering to go through that experience together. Then the third thing that you're going to do is you're going to prepare. And when I say prepare, I do not necessarily mean that you are going to make a whole plan and you're going to start overthinking this and overanalyzing that, because that could actually put you into paralysis where you push it off and procrastinate and don't face the fear. Instead, you're just going to make a small commitment of like, I'm only going to listen to very calming music this week leading up to this experience. So that way you can get yourself more regulated and feel tranquil and peaceful. So that way you have more space within yourself to face this big fear that you have, whether that be having a really difficult conversation, making a big life change, might be more on the extreme, or doing something I did, like holding a snake or holding a spider if you're really afraid of spiders. I would love to hear a fear that you have that you're ready to face. Leave it in the comments down below. And remember, use fear. Do not let fear use you. You can do it. I will see you next Sunday.